like to introduce Professor Stuart Dunn. If Professor Dunn can come online there. Thank you. Professor, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. If I could just get your good self to introduce what it is that you do at the university and a little bit about yourself.
Certainly, and thank you very much for having me this afternoon. So my name is Stuart Dunn. I am Professor of Spatial Humanities at King's College London, and that always takes up the first 5 minutes of whenever I meet somebody at a party explaining what spatial humanities is, but we don't need to worry about that too much now. I'm also head of the Department of Digital Humanities, which is the department which Forthread have been working with in the development of these career accelerator programs. So we have around 60 members of academic staff working in a variety of areas such as digital economy, digital culture and society, platform studies, very, very broad definition. I mean, digital humanities is another complex thing to define sometimes, but that's really what we do. And I used to be an archaeologist years ago. That's what my PhD is, which is a subject heavily invested in the digital and also the visuals. So I think it's those two aspects that really brought me to a position in my career now where I do actually have things to say about UX design and why it has been such an absolute pleasure for me to be involved in putting this program together with Forthread.
That is brilliant. Thank you. I'd love to dig a bit deeper, pardon the pun as well, with that, but it is also my pleasure to welcome Soumya to the webinar today. Soumya, welcome. Thank you also. If you could give, for the benefit of the audience and those in attendance, a little bit of background about what it is that you do and what you are currently studying with King's.
Hi, DC. Hi, everyone. I'm Soumya Kaushik. I am part of the Product Management Career Accelerator. I started in October last year, and I'm working on the last leg of the course, which is an employer project at the moment. Work-wise, I work for a management consulting firm. We were a very small startup when I joined them in 2020, and now we've got a official digital products team. Since starting the Career Accelerator, I've been able to get into this team and start working on product management, and yeah, I'm really enjoying the course and just looking to kind of take on the learnings and apply them on the job as well. So that's me.
Wonderful, and thank you kindly. For the benefit of the audience, this is obviously the first presentation of the UX Design Career Accelerator. So what we thought we would do, and pleasingly Soumya has agreed to do so, was hear from a current learner in a similar program with King's, where the structure and the support and the career coaching is very much the same. And this event is all about you in attendance, your opportunity to engage as much as you care to do so and ask questions. I've got a number of questions that I'm about to ask the panel before we hand over to yourself. But in the meantime, if you feel that you do have any questions throughout the event that you would like answered, please use the Q&A function down below. Type them in, have a look at other people's questions, upvote them, and we'll get to them as quickly as we can as well. But for the benefit of the audience as well, I would like to ask you both, I guess, starting with Soumya, if I could, in management consulting, which aspect of your job do you most enjoy?
I think in digital products, my most favorite part, hands down, is doing initial design. So I like looking at capturing business needs, looking at clients' pain points and turning them into a digital product. So I do initial design for B2B products in my current role.
Brilliant. And same for your good self, Professor Dunn. I mean, your role is so varied, but what aspect do you enjoy the most?
By far, the aspect of my job that I enjoy the most is teaching, hanging out with students, which is something I don't get to do quite as much as I used to, being head of department. But we have the most fantastic students here in the Department of Digital Humanities. And, you know, I just find in my interactions with them, in our seminars, our conversations, you know, I think in many cases learn as much from them as they do from me. And, you know, it's just wonderful to get to the end of the semester, the end of a module or a program, and, you know, just feel that I have given them something to think about and hopefully given them something to help them on their way in their careers when they leave. And as I say, when they leave, they certainly leave new perspectives and new knowledge with me. So that's definitely the best part of my job.
That's brilliant. And it's in a similar vein with my role in the team of enrolment advisors here at 4th Rev. It's our absolute pleasure to guide someone through a life decision, such as those in attendance to this afternoon, and to look at the investment that they're making in oneself through the benefit of education, but also then to follow their progress and hear the inspiring career outcomes is something quite amazing. We have a poll also for the audience that we would love for you to participate in. The poll will be put down the bottom there as to which industries would you like to work in as a UX designer, if not already. So we'll check in with the poll a little later as well. But if you click on the poll at the bottom, you'll find that. And we would love then to look at the different sectors that people are looking to be potentially employed within for UX. So moving right along, I'm going to ask a few questions before we get to the Q&A questions from the audience. But to frame, I guess, also the partnership between 4th Rev and King's, Professor Dunn, I'd love if it's possible for you to share a little bit about the co-design process between King's and 4th Rev as to how we arrived at this groundbreaking career accelerator in UX design.
Sure. Well, I've been in academia for about 25 years, and this has been a new experience for me. I have to admit, in a very good way. I mean, you know, I am a fairly old school academic. I will not go out on too much of a limb of saying the same about my colleague, Professor Zelinska, who's been working on this UX with me, and also Professor Smithies, who worked on the project management accelerator. But I am used to sitting here in my ivory tower, thinking big thoughts, writing books that will be read by 4 people, including my mother. But what has been really new to me is working with a team of people who are expert in designing these courses and in turning these big thoughts into content which can be sort of delivered and consumed in such a way as to have, you know, the impact of these accelerators in the workplace. I mean, that has been actually really liberating and empowering for me to understand that my research can actually become that. I have loved this process, and yes, I've sort of been able to reflect a lot on my own research practice and teaching practice as a result of it.
That is fantastic and so insightful. It's bringing the best of academia and then the industry requirements together, bridging that gap for meaningful career outcomes, which is the whole premise of the Career Accelerator. So then, I guess, what do you perceive as the benefits for learners when the right combination of hard and soft skills needed for work and the academic underpinnings enable people to thrive in the field of UX?
Certainly. Well, the benefit that we as Kings bring, which I think is quite distinctive, is not just the nuts and bolts of how you do UX. I mean, there's lots of wonderful courses out there that will teach that. I mean, what we bring is our perspectives on the social, cultural, and ethical foundations of what UX should be. So, you know, what are the principles that should guide good UX practice, as well as just what UX is. But that's not to say that we simply do the critical, theoretical side of things. I mean, I think there are elements of this program, things like sort of ethnography, how to design a survey, how to design a questionnaire, how to understand users, which isn't just relevant to UX, it's really relevant to lots and lots of ways of doing business. So I think there are, you know, whilst of course this accelerator is very much focused on the sort of the delivery of the UX career accelerator, there are other kind of skills that you'll be able to use elsewhere in your career as well. So, you know, there is a kind of an economy of scale there, but also I would think just more broadly, you know, across the digital economy and the creative industries and so forth, I mean, the need for high quality UX practices and designers is only growing, and it's only going to continue to grow. So I think it's exactly the right time to be contemplating a course such as this.
Fantastic. And that dovetails beautifully into me asking Soumya her experience in the product management career accelerator, because the premise is the same. It's practical. It's the same structure in terms of 3 practical courses and 1 industry project at the end. So if I could, Soumya, can I ask about your experience so far in the career accelerator and how practical is it?
Yeah, so I work as a senior product manager in my team. And the product management course has really helped in terms of, there were specific areas like maybe product marketing and a couple of other areas where I didn't, like strategy, for example, I didn't have much exposure before. And the program has given me practical tools that I can pick up and straight away, seek out those opportunities within my current role as far as I can. But also there's lots of opportunities for development. In terms of the program, the way it's structured, there's a coursework submission every 6 weeks. So there is enough time to kind of prepare and do enough research before you actually submit it. But something that really stood out for me was it's set at very high standards. So it is really demanding and challenging on your time. But once you've done it, you feel really proud of yourself when you look back. So I think that's been the key thing that really stood out for me.
And without exams in the program, there's a more practical element, we feel, of, as you said, submissions. How are you graded instead of exam?
So in addition to the official submissions, you also have discussions and you have some practical activities that you need to submit shorter a set of say 300, 400 words on, and it really helps you think about what you're actually going to submit as part of your submission as well. So there's lots of practical things. It's not just reading the content and then writing something up, but it's focused a lot on research and your own developing your own understanding and your own take on the content as well.
Brilliant. Building a practical portfolio of evidence along the way. That's fantastic. Thank you. Now, I guess who are the students, Professor Dunn? Is this program suitable for beginners with no prior experience in UX design?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I guess this is sort of treated, obviously we are an academic institution working with 4th Revs, so the requirement is an undergraduate degree or some equivalent relevant experience. I believe there is sort of an assessment done as to one's suitability for the program, but we certainly don't require an existing foundation in UX experience that's gone before. This is something that one can bring to a change into UX.
Brilliant. That's a good point. We have 3 types of learners, or 3 personas of learners that we support, being career starters, career changers, those looking to change careers to maximize opportunities within the digital economy, and career advancers, those like Soumya that are looking to advance their existing careers and possibly fill some of the gaps or learn some new skills for that as well. Soumya, as an advancer that you were looking to upskill, how did you manage to juggle study, work, and other commitments?
So just a bit more about myself. I've got 2 kids, school-going kids, and they have a lot of homework, evening classes, and all sorts of things. In addition to that, I work full-time in consultancy, and it's not a typical 9 to 5 kind of a job. So it does go on late into evenings and things like that. So what really helped me is lots of planning, but there's a really nice orientation section right at the beginning of the course before we actually start the actual content of the course. And it didn't seem like much when we were doing it. It felt very light touch, but all the tools and techniques and different frameworks that were given to us during the orientation week really helped me in terms of time management and just making sure if I can't spend enough time one week, I can always compensate for it by spending extra time the week after. But yeah, just keeping pace with the way the program goes really fast. If you look at it, it's not that long. Every 6 weeks there's a submission. So yeah, you need to really plan well, but I think it's definitely doable. And yeah, lots of juggling, but it's not going to be perfect, but definitely something that is workable.
Good on you, Soumya. I think you've summed that up really well. It is able to, you're able to fit in
Yeah.
It around your other priorities, but have the flexibility also. Let's be honest, there's sacrifices to be made along the way to fit the time in, but it's obviously well worth it in the outcome. What sort of support do you receive in the program to, as you said, enable not only the design of your individualized study plan, but other support along the way?
A few things really stood out compared to other programs I was looking at before enrolling. So I think career coaching, we get 9 sessions as part of the program, which have been really, really helpful. And they're all customized based on individual requirements. They're not like a set frame, there's no set framework. You can work with the coach and really work on aspects of your own development and put together a plan around all of that. The other thing that really helped is we get a success manager allocated to us every week. We can hold a short meeting with them, and they kind of keep us on track. Even if we are not discussing anything really formal, it's always that, my success manager meeting is coming up tomorrow. I better do whatever I need to do before then, so I can at least give them an update, sort of a thing. But those sessions are really informal, and especially if you're falling behind and not reaching your goals that you planned for, success managers have been really helpful in just giving us a pep talk and just lifting us up and then motivating us to move forward. And also they kind of send you reminders around deadlines and things like that, so you can plan in advance. So that's been really helpful. The other thing I really found helpful was I've not been able to attend some of the live sessions during the course, and there's always an opportunity for asynchronous learning. You can go in and look at recorded sessions, but also come back to the student forum and discuss comments and post your questions there, and facilitators always get back to you with a really nice explanation and just providing clarification on your question as well, which I found quite helpful, especially considering I work full time, and then if I can't attend one of the sessions, that's really helpful.
It sounds like university fits in with you rather than you so much fitting with university. I like that. I gather there from what you've said, you've got the success manager, the career coach, and the facilitators that assist with those weekly sessions. For the benefit of the audience, I'm going to give an overview of the whole program at the end of the Q&A. But whilst I've only got a couple more things that I'd love to ask you about both your experience with the Career Accelerator, I invite the audience once more to pop your questions in the Q&A box, and we're going to get to them as quickly as possible. Professor Dunn, the Career Accelerator model is new. It's, I guess, a new category of education in some way. It sits somewhat between a degree and a postgraduate program or masters, and that's certainly the demographic that study the Career Accelerator. How do you feel this differs though from other bootcamp style courses, or even degrees or masters?
Yeah, sure. I think I sort of briefly touched on this in a previous answer, because this is, as you say, this crosses that conceptual bridge between theoretical education and practical training. I think it has I would hope it has the best of both worlds in there. So, this is not, as you say, just like a boot camp where you are going to learn the nuts and bolts of how to do UX, how to be a UX designer. It's not like a UX training course. It's you get the entire array of sort of theory and critical practice around how to do good UX, how to do UX, for the as a social and cultural good, as well as good business practice. For example, I spent some time with some fourth year colleagues last week filming a vignette on UX essentially as a historical concept, and I thought very hard about this. It's made me think very hard about how about this before I did the vignette, of course. And it kind of occurred to me that going through the long history of writing and printing and web browsers, UX is absolutely fundamental to so many of the things we've always done through history. And I think what you will get through doing this UX Accelerator, as well as the practical stuff on how to be a good UX designer and further your career through it, you will also get that broader critical and intellectual perspective, which, as well as helping deepen your understanding of the practical elements, it's just really, really interesting in its own right.
It is. There's so many applications and elements, as we know, which is part of the excitement of it. Last question from me before we move on to the audience Q&A. Soumya, you've had support from your employer. with the studies. How do you feel at work? You've grown at work as a result of the practical application of learning, and do you feel that there's going to be a genuine return on your educational investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got sponsored to attend this program, which was great. But if I hadn't been, I would have enrolled anyway. Yeah, since starting the program, we also had a reorganization within my organization, and I was able to use this as a precursor to say I want to work in the digital products team and move into the new team, which was expanding. And I've also been able to take on additional responsibilities, and I now lead a couple of teams, cross-functional teams on product design and delivery for major clients who have signed up with our consulting firm. So I think it's definitely giving more value to me as part of my personal development, but also giving value to my employer.
That's important as well. Fantastic. So they can actually see their investment in you paying a return, but also enabling your career progression, which is a fantastic outcome. Okay, I'm going to get into some questions from the audience first. Soumya, what's the interaction with your peers? Do you ever connect with fellow students during the program?
Yeah, there is a student forum where we can post and interact with other students. We can ask questions or generate discussions, which is always encouraged. But as part of our cohort, what we also did was form a WhatsApp group, and some of us who are closer to London, they've also had face-to-face meetings. But those who can't have always, we all chat with each other on WhatsApp or on the student portal, and talk about product management and post some helpful tips. And lots of people have also been looking at job opportunities. So there's a lot of interaction in that space.
Fantastic. We love hearing the career outcomes that we seem to be hearing on a very regular basis. And I'll touch on another question shortly about that. I'll come to the question about flexible payments as well shortly, but I guess, Professor Dunn, the question down the bottom here, what strategies or approaches do UX design training programs employ to keep pace with rapidly evolving industry and emerging trends, which I think is a really, really relevant and well thought out question. Thank you. I think that's from someone anonymous, but how do we keep pace with the change of industry with our curriculum?
That is indeed a very, very good question. I mean, of course, myself and my colleagues at King's produce content for the program within a fairly sort of tight time frame, so it will be going out, as it were, in a timely manner. But I would imagine that we will be kind of keeping in touch in the future, and we'll be revising that content in the future and in future years as needed. So it's not a case that we just produce this year's content and then it stays the same forever. There will be some kind of process of keeping it up to date and recording new content as the industry develops, exactly as you say.
That's exactly right. And it's, I think, a very important point that you make as an industry. So we partner with Creative Navy, that I'm going to speak to a little bit more deeply shortly on this program, Atlassian, Dropbox and others, to understand industry's needs both now, but also with a lens towards changing and emerging technologies as well. So that will always filter through to make this, I guess, the most up-to-date and industry relevant program available for learners as well. A question regarding, and I'm just conscious of your time, Professor Dunn, we'll get through these questions, which is most welcome from the audience. Thank you, and keep them coming. For Soumya, I guess, career coaching. So someone's asked here, they're unsure about how to advance their career during or after the program. How do the career coaches assist with this? And I'll certainly touch on some of this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I work with my career coach, my needs are quite different from, say, someone new to the industry or new to product management. So they have been helping me with customizing the sessions based on what I need. Again, if you're completely out of ideas, the coaches will suggest a kind of structure or a framework to run these sessions as well. But from what I've been hearing from my peers, I think everybody's been really appreciative of the career coaching sessions because they're really helpful.
Yeah, we hear that time and time again in the feedback. The career coaching is a really unique element to the program. This is an executive style career coach that will assist anyone commence, change, or advance their existing careers in UX design. And it is a process of discovery at the start. So there's a really rigorous goal setting process that is undertaken. This is not just a resume profile career support. This is someone that will dive deep into understanding values and aligning your intended outcomes with their coaching of you for your success, not just in your immediate need in terms of be that starting, changing, or advancing your career, but tools to succeed in every role that you have going forward. And I can't stress enough the inspiration that we receive hearing those career outcomes, often so early in a program. I know there was a couple of your peers, for example, that were only at the end of course 1, but with the career coaching and the reprofiling they did of their new skill set within, be it social media, LinkedIn, or their resume, that they were approached quite early on and have now successfully obtained roles already as well, which I think is what it's all about. Getting to some more questions, great to see them coming through. And I will touch a little bit more on some of the content in the program shortly as well. Professor Dunn.
I just wanted to add one very small response to the question about are there any notable trends or emerging areas? Because yes, that is a really good question. And I think my main answer to that would be, I think companies are more and more wanting to be and be seen to be socially responsible. So, they are wanting to have not just good UX design, as I say, which will drive sales, but they are wanting to have ethical UX design, which is inclusive, which, kind of sort of doesn't exclude, and which, has all these kinds of ethical dimensions to it. So that is, I think, is a really important question, and I just wanted to get that response in. The kind of ethical dimension of UX is a major emerging trend, I think.
I would concur wholeheartedly, and it'll also include data and the application utilization, leveraging of that. And the way the program is designed for everyone, there are the technical skills obtained throughout the 3 courses and the industry project. But there's 3 other learning areas that are intertwined, be that the business application of your UX design skills and that strategic and commercial acumen driving meaningful application of the knowledge is really, really key. The employability, the human element skills as well are required to obtain jobs in the digital economy, promotions or employer-specific outcomes. But then the personal growth as well, those reflective capabilities supporting your personal growth and the development of those skills for meaningful careers as well. Soumya, have you had that chance to reflect and build upon those 3 other learning areas aside from the technical skills?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I really liked about my course, about the Product Management Career Accelerator, is that it treats you as a whole person and a whole professional, rather than I've been on corporate courses where you do the training, you get a certificate, that's it. Whereas here it's looking at all of your areas that you want to work on and kind of treating you as a whole professional and setting you up for success in the job market, which is something quite unique to the program, I would think.
You're right. And back to your point, Professor Dunn, those shape the future of the field as well, that the ethical, the inclusivity, the DE&I considerations on UX, along with that personal growth, the contribution to collaboration and teamwork, and even the digital skills that we're using this forum to communicate with is the real way of work these days. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, for example, and there's no barriers to that now. So there's even that those ethics, those cultural understandings when working cross borders and across the globe that are now much closer together in understanding users, designing for user needs, and also user-centered product optimizations as well. Let's get to some more questions, I think, but thank you for that question. It was a really, really good one. Just having a look here. How has the formalization of UX design training programs impacted the quality of professionals entering the field? Interesting one, and I might pose that to your good self, Professor Dunn, or I'm certainly happy to tackle it.
I think I would only say from the perspective of this program, it will vastly improve the quality of professionals entering the industry.
Yes, I agree. And to back that up also.
No, you have to answer more fully though, DC. So.
Well, no, I think that's as succinct as it needs to be. But also, the only thing I will add to that is having industry's input at the design element at the commencement of the content design dictates that industry is looking at the program knowing that the graduates are going to have the skills that they require because they've had input into the design of the content that makes it so relevant as well. So yeah, great question, I think, but that's exactly why we've designed the program the way it has been with King's. Fantastic. Final few moments for questions. This is a good one for Professor Dunn as well down the bottom. How do UX design training programs, such as I guess in this case the Career Accelerator specifically, balance theoretical knowledge with practical application to ensure graduates are prepared for the real world challenges?
Well, it's exactly as you just said, DC. I mean, it's because it combines input from the ivory tower, such as myself, the theoretical side, with concrete input from industry. And also, as you said earlier, the assessments are, practical constructs where, which are project-based, where there is just as much assessment on the doing as on the outcomes. So, I think for all those reasons, this accelerator is excellent preparation for the real world challenges of being a UX professional in the workplace.
Brilliant. And whilst the career outcomes inspire us so much, and rightly so, we hear them almost daily, and you'll see that on our social media channels. What was equally as inspiring, I believe, I feel myself as well, and I'm sure yourself, Professor Dunn, and Fourth Rev and others, is the actual application of learning in an instant. So we've got many examples of not only someone achieving an amazing career outcome, but making that impact with the new skills that they have obtained throughout the Career Accelerator for immediate benefit for both their impression in the first 100 days of a new role, but also for the benefit of the business as well. And I've got some examples I can provide later with that practical application. It's just as inspiring as the outcome often. We've kind of answered this, but Soumya, I'll see if there's anything else you would like to add do you feel the value of the program? And I'll touch on then the payment options to dovetail into that. So do you think the program has been worth the cost is the question from the audience?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, it's definitely helping me with my personal development and my passion for digital products.
Brilliant. In terms of flexible payment options, I'm going to give a complete rundown of all of that in a moment. So I'll get to the audience questions before I do that. But yes, there are flexible payment options available for everyone. Do you have to attend classes at certain times? There is a live, and there's a blend of synchronous and asynchronous delivery in the Career Accelerator. So the synchronous sessions occur either once a week, usually from 7 p.m. at night, or I think you might have had a lunchtime option as well to attend. Soumya.
Yeah, we had 2 sessions, so Wednesday lunchtime and Thursday evenings.
To choose from.
Yep. There were 2 different facilitators holding sessions, so it was the exact same content.
Perfect. So that synchronous session is, as Soumya's previously mentioned, is recorded for those that can't attend it. The last thing you'd like to do on your birthday would be attend one of the live sessions, I guess. So you can catch them up, but they're a great opportunity to be very engaged with the facilitators, but equally as important, your peer group, in understanding what questions they're asking of the facilitator, understanding what similar challenges you may have, and sort of finding like solutions to the challenges that you're experiencing throughout the program, or overcoming challenges in that sense, as well as either an individual or a group. Then there's the asynchronous component where you choose when and how study fits in with your life, where you'll get that support, as Soumya's already mentioned, around the design of your study plan, enabling you to know when to fit study in, and some tips. Also, there's a great deal of support, but tips from others that have gone through it successfully. And the number one tip they often have is that, progress, weekly progress towards the target. And I guess I can ask that of yourself in a moment, Soumya. Or I'll ask you now, any tips to ensure success in the program?
I think attending live sessions where and when possible is really good because you get broken down into smaller groups, and it's not just the facilitator talking, but you get a chance to work with a small 2 or 3 people group and kind of work on some idea and then present it back as well as part of the virtual classes, which is quite nice. But yeah, otherwise, even like some of the time I have not been able to attend those live sessions, but with a lot of planning, and yeah, if you are able to sort of catch up on those sessions before your submission and get all the information you need, I think that would be the key to success.
Agreed. In many cases, we've had circumstances, and I guess, I don't know if you went through this process yourself, Soumya, but given you're a mum, but it is often of benefit to engage with others that are impacted or understand the value of your decision. So what I mean by that is engaging with other partners, family, even children, if they're old enough to understand the decision that you're making to invest in not only your career, but for the family's benefit as well. And there's been great examples of mums doing that. We love hearing your story. But then also them understanding that there is a study time component to what mum's doing at the moment for the betterment of everyone as well. Is that something you went through, or you're?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a 7-year-old daughter, and I don't think she's been happy with me all the time because she keeps saying all you do is study these days, but it's more relaxed now that we are on the employer project side of things. But yeah, in terms of just balancing family time and studies, it has been, yeah, it was quite demanding, especially as we get closer to the coursework submission. But what I've seen over a period of time is also that she's understood the value that I'm getting out of it, and I can talk to her about, not in a complicated way, but I'm really passionate about the digital products I'm building at work, and I kind of talk to her in like very simplistic terms around what that is and what that means. Because I work in utilities, and you can see the work that goes on the streets, and that's the kind of area I work on in product management. So it's been quite inspiring for her to just see that, and I think she's quite young to understand it, but yeah, in the future hopefully she'll get something out of it. But yeah, I've seen other new moms on the course. They've brought their kids along onto the webinars, and they've obviously stayed on mute, but it was quite nice to just see that as well, just in terms of how accessible the course is.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great example to set an inspiration, no matter the age that it will be, either now if they're old enough to understand, but certainly in the future to know that mum or dad or brother or sister or whoever participated in not only a career accelerator but obtained that certificate from King's College London. It's inspirational. And that does lead me into just clarifying the point for the last question here. Is one of the last questions is it possible to do the entire course asynchronously? Yes, the entire program is online, and I'll give that overview in a moment. Those live sessions are delivered online weekly and therefore recorded. But yes, completely online, 100%. And we do anticipate organic meetups because the majority of students are in the UK, and we certainly host success events throughout the year, or once a year when graduating and things like that too. So I'll tick that one off. Last chance for any questions before I thank our very, very valued and special guests, and then give you an overview for those in attendance. Also, some great news for you as well. I take it that's all of the questions from the audience. I'd like to thank, firstly, Soumya, thank you ever so kindly for sharing your experience in the Career Accelerator with King's in product management, but learning from your experience thus far is exactly what the UX students will experience in the structure of the course and the content. I'd like to say thank you once again. Thank you for having me. Likewise, Professor Dunn, thank you. I know you've got a lot on today, and I much appreciate your time and your continued effort in making this the exciting program that it is.
Thank you very much. And may I just say, Soumya, I really enjoyed hearing from you about how the course feels from the other side. It's been very interesting and very valuable for me. So thank you on my part. Thank you.
For the audience, I'd like to now provide a couple of things. Firstly, a general overview of the program in a quick sense, some key dates, some entry criteria, still able to answer any of your questions regarding payment plans, fees, entry criteria, or anything like that. But as you've heard tonight, we partner with industry first when designing the content, Creative Navy, Atlassian, others, to then have King's, as you've heard from Professor Dunn, curate that into what is bridging the gap between academia and industry, making it very, very practical in helping you obtain your intended outcomes. The program is made up of 3 courses and 1 industry-facing project at the end that I'm really excited to give you some more information on. So course 1, understanding users course, and these go for 6 weeks each, with the development of a portfolio of evidence throughout the 3 courses. So projects and presentations. So understanding users, designing for user needs, user-centered product optimization is course 3. And your learning outcomes then enable your participation in a very exciting employer-facing project. So to frame that quickly for you, with Creative Navy, our industry partner for this project, who are in the top 10 UX agencies globally. If you haven't heard of them, look them up. It is our pleasure to enable projects with an employer of that caliber. You'll meet with Creative Navy, who will present to you the scenario of the project, or the request for service, if I can use that terminology, as a team then of 4 or 5, with 4 or 5 other high caliber students over a 6-week project. You'll work through that challenge that they present, and going through applying your learning outcomes, understanding users, designing for user needs, user-centered product optimization, into a way in which you can then present back to Creative Navy your recommendations and plans in a consultancy style presentation at the end. The benefits of that are numerous. Firstly, it is a brilliant and practical way to apply your new skills in that environment, in that realistic environment. It is, I think, an amazing way to more deeply network with your peers, as well as a significant employer within this space. And lastly, whether it's you're beginning your career in UX, whether you're changing careers into UX, or whether you have some experience in UX and are looking to advance, it is a much, much more inspiring demonstration of your value to an existing or prospective employer than, say, your exam result could ever be. To paint that picture, to tell that story in an interview is going to have so much more impact than what it would be to explain your exam results, for example. Also then, I'm going to answer questions on the fly as well. There are 3 ways to apply, to meet the entry criteria. A bachelor degree, first and foremost, or 2 years of relevant industry experience will meet the entry criteria for the program. There's a host of enrolment advisors that are there to assist you. So in the chat box, if you'd like to open that up, there's also the opportunity of clicking a link there to book a meeting with one of your career advisors, your enrolment advisors. So the entry criteria: bachelor degree and or up to 2 years of professional experience if you don't have a bachelor degree. So that is the entry criteria. The commencement date is 29th of May, which you'll go through an onboarding process to start. The onboarding process will take you through the virtual learning environment, meet your fellow students, meet your the course conveners again, but also the facilitators and career coaches, and then go through that rigorous goal setting process that I've mentioned previously as well, that sets you up not only for success, but also enables the coaches to understand what it is that you're striving to achieve, and then their coaching of you toward you achieving that. Looking at some questions coming through. There's this, the qualification. Yes, it's certainly recognised. It's a King's, it's a King's College London certification. It's not a qualification, although we would work towards that one day in the future, in the not too distant future, hopefully. But right now, it's a certification. So you'll get a King's College London certification of your participation in the UX Design Career Accelerator as well. Do we have flexible payment options? We most certainly do. So for those of you that aren't aware, we offer interest and fee-free payments over either a 6 or 9 month period. We hope very shortly to offer a longer term payment plan as well. Those payment plans have no fees or no interest associated with them. So it's a great way to actually spread your payments out over a period of time. If anyone's unsure, the fees are £7,995, and there is the option of a discount for those that choose to elect to pay up front, or for those in attendance today, we will offer a £500 discount regardless of the payment plan that you choose, which I think is a great incentive to join the first program. There are only limited placements available and left. We're only taking 40 placements, and I think we're at 80% capacity already. But it's more about you understanding the return on your educational investment. It's a considerable amount of time to invest. It is around that 15 hours per week. But as I said earlier, designed to fit in with you more so than you fit in with university. But it's important to either talk through what your intended outcome is with your enrolment advisor and have them explain to you the potential of your return on investment. And it's quite a simple process of understanding that if you are to undertake this and obtain your intended outcome, be that to start, change, or advance your career, what does that look like in terms of an increase in salary, potentially? Also, the other benefits that come with a change of career or a commencement of career, divided by the cost of the program, and you'll see what your yearly investment is as opposed to your yearly return. As a very, very simple way of understanding the raw return on investment. I think much, much more deeply than that are the skills obtained in the program, both the technical, the employability, the personal growth as well that I mentioned earlier, that it's going to set you up for a longer return on your investment because you'll utilize those skills regardless of what role or career you choose to do in the future, and especially giving yourself a better chance to obtain those roles as well. Wonderful to see some more questions. Very good question. The KCL alumni discount supersedes the discount, but reach out to me and we'll discuss that. The course is 100% online, yes. We've gone through the entry criteria, payment options, as I mentioned, 6 or 9 month payment plans. And this, to let you know that, I guess, the learner demographic, because someone said, for those that live out of London, yes, our students, 80% of our students are in the UK, but then there's a whole portion of students from other parts of the world, mostly Europe. I know of some amazing learners that are commencing from Sweden and from other EU countries, and there are 1 or 2 learners that have committed to the first program from the Middle East, in particular, I think Dubai. So it's great to have that diverse nature of learners in the program. The typical, I guess, demographic is mid-30s or early 30s, looking to advance their existing career in UX, given the academic underpinnings that this provides and the relative skills for industry, or looking to change careers into UX, knowing the opportunities that are abound in the program. So